Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. Well, it's time to finish up the outer shell for the screw caddy. That way in the next video I can get on to making the drawers and of course the outer sliding door that's going to go down the front, which will protect them all from getting damaged. One of the things I need to do is I need to make a handle, and I went through a number of options, one just in my head, and this one here I tried to do a bit of a mock-up to see what it's going to look like. Those two L brackets, they look a little too clunky for me. Obviously I would have rounded one side off, but I didn't like the look of it. So instead I am going to make two round pucks, and I'm going to do that by putting them on a lathe. Now, one of the other options I had was just to cut a long blank and just remove the material on the inside where the handle will be, and remove another bit of material on the edges to shorten the part where I have to attach it to the shell. It would require a fair amount of work on the bandsaw, and which means I would have to have switched the blades, and I didn't really want to do that. And also would require the drum sander, which I haven't finished yet, to make that look nice. So instead I went this route. This just uses materials that I have around, and I don't have to do anything special for it. I'm going to stick them on this mandrel. I use this an awful lot in my business for rounding out acrylic to make filters, and it works really well. It's getting a little old. It does need to be run through the lathe itself just to smooth things out. You can see there's a few nicks and things in it, and it's a little rough. But it's more than good enough for this particular job, which is just to round these out to make them look nice. And with most of the material removed, it's rather short process to round them up and then sand them so that they are, well, relatively smooth. You'll notice in most of the work I do here, I omit a lot of sanding. If you're interested in that process, just leave a comment, let me know, and I'll try and include a bit more of it. But it's one of the few things that I find it boring. That's what it really comes down to. And I tend not to record much of it because, well, it's very, very repetitive. So I'm going to round this out here. You'll notice also the reason why I need to run this through and fix it up a little bit. On the right you'll see that it's not running true, and partially that is due to the fact that I didn't take any great effort in hooking it up, but it also does need to be trued up a little bit. But for this, it's no big deal. So I'm going to sand this now. I've got a piece of 120 here. It's just an old broken belt. And one of the things I find about this, and actually one of the reasons why if I fixed up the outer side of the mandrel, I would be able to reverse the direction, like put it in the other way. So what I'm doing basically is just sanding it in one direction. So it is a bit rough in one direction, but it's easy to straighten that all out by hand and it won't be too big an issue. So here we go. Two round pucks with a hole in the middle. And all I need to do now is cut one edge flat, and I'm going to definitely get rid of that void. So I'm going to cut it here. And one of the things I want to do when I'm doing this is I want to keep to roughly 2 inches. I wanted a nice grip on this. I'm holding this all together with dowels and glue. Partially because I want to test it out. I want to see the limits for dowels. So far I've been very, very happy with it. You'll see at the top of the screen the mallet. I've been pounding away with that since ever I made it. Haven't had any issues. There's no split in it or anything at all. So this is going to be a handle, and all the forces on it are going to be tensile. So that means they're going to be trying to pull the dowels out of the shell. So that'll be a good test, see how long it lasts. While cutting the flat on this, I took my time because, well, it's round, and if I put any real pressure on it, it may spin and bind to the blade, and I didn't want that, so I put a lot of downward pressure on my hand protector and just took my time, made sure that the saw blade was cutting nice and smoothly and slowly, and it worked perfectly, so that was good. So what I'm going to do here is, you see I have 2 blanks. These are just 2-inch pieces of 3/4 ply, and the reason they were there is because, well, I have big hands, and it wasn't exactly comfortable holding this without them, so I wanted a little bit more space there, and also because I'm going to be using this to haul stuff around to job sites. It gets cold here in the winter, and I need a little extra space because obviously I'm going to be wearing gloves from time to time, and yeah, just a little better clearance was a good idea. Now the other thing while that sets up is I don't like these holes. I find them unsightly. I am going to fill them all up. This is one of the things I have, well, basically omitted. I'm just going to show you the first one just because to show you what I'm doing. It's long. I needed 2 coats. Need to be sanded down. You can see there on the bottom, you can see where it has been, I think on the 2nd coat there now. And yeah, it's, like I said, it's one of those little projects that takes a little while, a little finicky. Again, if that's something that you would like to see, definitely leave comments and let me know. So I'm going to put 3 holes through this. The 2 on the outsides are going to hold that little block onto the round piece and also onto the shell. And then there's also one more that's going to go through the center all the way through, and that's going to hold the dowel in place. So I'm going to set this up. What I'm going to do here is line it up first, and then I'm going to move it out. I didn't really need to do this, but I thought I would. I didn't want to drill all the way through, and so I'm going to set the depth stop here and make sure I don't set it down too much. Now the important part about this is I've leveled it out with the level. You saw that at the beginning, and I want the depth of these to be the same. That way when I go to mark out where these are going to sit on the shell, they'll all be the same depth. You'll see that when we get to it. So there you go. This is just a quick, straightforward drill down to the depth stop, and then of course do the same for the other one, and then of course do the entire other piece. So I think this is going to look nicer. Also, let me know about that. What do you think? This is a better look to this than the L brackets would have been. Yeah. Your comments are always welcome, trust me. So there you go. Those are 2 drilled now, and I'm going to switch over, do the other one, and then line these up again to do the center hole. The center hole is probably the most finicky because I'm going very far. I was a little concerned, but this is a milling machine, and even though I didn't take a whole lot of effort to make sure that this was perfectly lined up, I've used this vise many times, and even roughly it is reasonably well set up. So there's the hole there, and it goes all the way through, and you'll see that it's just off by a little bit once it gets up here. Yeah, there you go. It's not quite centered, but more than enough for this, and there you go. So what I'm going to do now, I have the drill bit wedged in the hole just to make sure that it is where it needs to be. I'm going to square this up, and then I'm going to drill down through the dowel, making sure that, as well, you saw me rub my finger on there, make sure that that's set up where it needs to be, and then just go through the dowel. And what I'm going to do after that, of course, is put some glue on the dowel, and then, of course, put some glue on the dowel I'm going to use to hold it in place, and there we go. And then it's going to shove this through, and I'm going to, it's going to be long on this side. I'll just cut it off later on. I wasn't going to bother measuring and calculating this. The part that I'm going to hold flush is at the bottom end of it. So this is going to go all the way down through. It's going to go through the dowel. It's going to definitely hold it in place nice and solidly. And there you go. I'm going to make sure, there's my finger underneath. You can't quite see it, of course. Making sure it's where it needs to be. I'm going to wipe off all the excess glue, and that will be the dowel held in place. There we go. All nice and set now. It's nice and solid. I mean, this is not going to have any force on it whatsoever, but it's fine. So what I've done here is I just set this up, made sure I like the look of it, and now what I'm going to do is I have to drill the other one. So all I've done is clamped it to a piece of scrap plywood, made sure everything is where I want it to be, and I'm going to drill down through that, and of course put the dowel in that one as well. Like I said, very straightforward. I like the ease of doing this, and obviously it's going to be quite strong as far as the dowel in those rings. The only possible weak point, of course, is going to be these being held onto the shell by dowels and glue instead of screws. Well, again, like I said, part of this is testing it out. I want to see how well it does. There was, because I had to use a 1-inch when I was drilling, rounding out these on lathes, my mandrel's 1 inch, so you'll see there's a little extra filler I had to put in there to take care of the gaps. There you go. That's all set now. what I'm going to do here is I've marked out where I want this to go, but because I want to mark the holes for the dowels, I need to be able to remove this and make sure everything's proper. So I made this little L bracket, and it's just going to be my guide for putting it back into place once I have all the glue on the little dowel pegs that are going to go in this. So you'll see here in a second. So this is going to go on here nice and solid, make sure everything's where it needs to be. That way I can remove this, you'll see in a second, put the dowels, the glue, stick it back where it needs to go, mark the holes, and then I can drill them. So this is that part. I'm going to just put a little drop of glue into the tips of each of those, and they're all set to the same depth, which is a nice thing for doing this on the mill, and make sure that they are all set relatively close. Any little excess you saw, I just let drip off because I don't want like great gobby goop on this. I just want a little round dot. So put it up against the L at the back, put it against the side there, and then after this it just simply goes straight down. And then it'll leave four little round dots, and that's it. Just pull that off and turn it all over. There you go. Those are the round dots. Just need to drill the holes, and that's basically all there is to this. It was very, very straightforward. What I did though, just because I wanted to make certain, is I'm just going to drill slightly through here, not all the way through, just so I can make sure that the dowel pegs are going to fit in all the holes, just in case I was off by one. And I am doing this by hand, so I wanted to make sure that it was exactly where it needed to be. So just to be certain. So there you go. I'm going to set those, and I'm going to just rub off the extra glue and set this up to make sure it's going to fit. And it does, which is really nice. I'm glad to see this worked. And now that it fits, drill the holes all the way through, because what I want to do is I'm going to set the dowel pegs all the way through on the 3/4 here, and then just run them up from the back end. You'll also notice I've almost finished all of the filling and sanding on the shell. It's getting pretty close to being done. I do bits of that while I'm waiting for glue to dry and that sort of thing. So there you go. I'm going to glue up the pegs, shove them through, and then put some glue on the actual bottom of the handle, and also put a little bit more glue on the pegs because a lot of it gets rubbed off when you shove it through the hole, and then slide it into place. And that's it. This is pretty much the end of the video. I'm going to clamp this down, let it set. I didn't have unfortunately bar clamps that were going to fit on this because well, first off, the round handle, and of course the inner drawers and everything, any of this dividers, so I used some spring clamps, more than enough for this. But anyway, yeah, there you go. Slide that into place and make sure all the pegs are flush, and set it all up and put the clamps on it. There you go. The shell is almost done, and there it is. And, oh yeah, one thing I want to mention. There you go, Sandy. I'm using a wet cloth to wipe off the excess glue. Thanks for the comment. And this is all set up now, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Leave comments. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you even like the look of this kind of handle, but it is nice and solid, at least at this point anyway. And, well, anyway, I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.